there are a lot of tough questions that you will not have a satisfying answer just through logic, just through an explanation. A lot of the questions that you're going to need require the person of Jesus in order for it to make sense. Sounds a little cryptic. I'll just give you an example, all right? So, many of you are probably aware, if you've heard Basil speak, I've probably mentioned it before, the logical problem of evil, right? And I mentioned that at the beginning. The logical problem of evil is that if God is all loving, God is all powerful, he would want to get rid of all evil and suffering in the world, and he would be able to, but there's evil and suffering in the world, lots of it, so therefore God can't exist. This was a problem that was presented by, we think there was probably Epicurus back in like 300 years before Jesus. And until 1977, it really held sway as a very convincing argument. C.S. Lewis kind of attacked it a little bit, but it was in 1977 there was a guy by the name, a Christian philosopher by the name of Alvin Plantinga, who presented what is known as the free will defense, and it basically put to rest that idea that God can't exist because evil exists. And he did it very well. Many of you probably heard the arguments in some form. And now if you look it up on Wikipedia, basically philosophy has decided, yes, that has been dealt with. But if you live in a war-torn country, or if your wife is leaving you, or you are so sick that you can't go to work and the bills are piling up, you don't care, right? You don't care. You don't care that somebody solved a logical problem. You're still saying, God, don't you care? If you were powerful, you would do something. If you were loving, you would do something. What's going on, right? Right? And it won't make sense unless you can look at the person of Jesus himself. And in Jesus, you'll see this guy who was able to heal other people by spitting in the dirt, picking up the mud, which is really kind of gross, and sticking it on their eyes, and they would see when they had never seen from birth. He could put his hand on somebody who was dead, and they would get up and walk and ask for food. And yet he didn't heal himself. He didn't heal himself. He's like suffering. He could have. There's this one episode in John where he's being arrested, and they ask him, "Are you Jesus?" And he says, "I am." And the soldiers fall back on the ground. They fall down. The power is there. He tells Peter, if I wanted to summon a legion of angels, I could. I don't need your help. He went through the suffering. He went through the pain and the agony of being betrayed, having false witness, being tempted to get out of it because of his power, which is something I don't normally face when I'm in pain. And then he went all the way to death and still asking God to forgive his torturers. That is somebody in whom you can find solace when you're suffering, because he understands it. He knows it. And that's why I'm saying that in a crisis of faith, you need to keep the eyes up on him, because a lot of these things won't make any sense other than in the person of Jesus himself. So I want to, and just remember, this is the one, like I started off with, this is the one who, it's not just that he suffered, but that he also suffered in order to bring you to himself, to spend eternity with you. So he's not aloof from this pain. He has embraced it because he wants to save you. And that's why I'm saying, let's keep Jesus front and center when we have these questions that are attacking us.